What's up, lovers of whiskey and watchers of YouTube? I'm the Malt activist, and in this video I want to share with you 5 everyday drams that kick some serious ass, all for under £40. Just about. Before we begin, I just want to give a big shout out to my first time viewers. Thank you for clicking through to this channel. If whiskey is your thing, then this channel is the one for you. We have whiskey reviews, whiskey alternatives, whiskey rants, whiskey raves. Basically what we're trying to do is get you to drink the best whiskey at the best possible price. So thank you. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. All of the above, none of the above. I'm just glad that you're here. To my returning viewers, like I always say, thank you for keeping your standards so low. You guys are the wind beneath my wings. Now let's get on with it. I often get asked this question, yo, Malt activist, what is your everyday dram? Now here's the thing, I don't really have an everyday dram because I don't really drink every day. So I've had to kind of like modify what that really means. Now, I know there are people who do drink every day, and I hope you drink in moderation because, you know, alcohol consumption comes with really high responsibility. So here's my caveat. I may call this a daily dram, but by no means is an invitation for you to imbibe on a daily basis. You are your own judge of your own faculties and willpower and your temperament and whatever it is. So whatever you do, just make sure you do it in moderation. You don't hurt yourself. I don't think generally there's anything wrong with drinking every day, as long as maybe you're not getting absolutely smashed every day. I know I can't. I just cannot drink every day. It's absolutely impossible. I keep my drinking to once a week or twice at best. And even then, you know, I don't really drink copious amounts of whiskey on a weekly basis as well. So yeah, so it's a personal preference, and all I can say is please drink responsibly. Even though I call this my daily dram video or a daily sipper video, whatever you want to call it, it just means that these are whiskeys that are easy to drink, that are super palatable, are very, very well priced, pack a punch of for their flavor profile and all of that. And are just really, really good value for money, right? That's why I'm calling them that. So, and I didn't want to call them budget whiskeys, but I think that's kind of like a misnomer. One guy's low budget is another one's high budget, and vice versa. So it's weird. So yeah, so when I say my daily drams or my daily sipper, it's basically whiskeys that I can probably come home to and be like, not think about it and be like, yep, I'm gonna start the evening with this one. So yes, that's what it means. So once again, drink responsibly. Do not have to drink every day if you don't want to or if you don't have to. But in the event that you do, or you're always reaching out for that one palatable whiskey that you can drink that is also good value for money and packs a punch, then the next 5 whiskeys you are really going to like. Okay, now that I've done my PSA, I feel a little relieved because, you know, it's on you. Now it's on you. Okay, fine. I think I've deflected enough responsibility in the first 30 seconds of this rant. So nothing left to do but get on with it. I'm going to list these whiskeys in an ascending pricing order because I think that's a little more interesting. And by no means does that mean that one whiskey is lesser or is a lesser mortal than the other just because it's cheaper. I think it just means it's just that much better price, in my opinion. So the lower it is, the better it is. Some caveats, some ground rules. Number one, I've tried to go for all age statement whiskeys, right? Because then that way the value really, really comes through. They're all non-chill filtered and natural colored. So that's very, very good. I tried to keep them above 46%. However, at that price range, very, very tough to find. However, I did exclude the 40% ABV whiskeys. So I have, off the 5, I have 2 at 43 and 3 that are 46 and above. So, hey man, even the ABV is packing a punch in this list. So I'm going to start with the cheapest whiskey on the list, and actually one of my favorites. I'm talking about the Benriach 10. Now, I've got to be honest, Benriach was a whiskey, my first whiskey that I bought, one of the first whiskeys that I bought was a Benriach 20 many years ago. And it was very affordable, to be very honest with you, but it did not taste good. I did not like the Benriach 20, and I had this sort of mindset where I was like, you know what, I'm not going to drink another Benriach for as long as I live. But then, of course, common sense prevailed, and I was like, dude, I have to go and try other Benriachs. Just because if there's one that I don't like doesn't mean I sort of damn the entire distillery. And that's when I fell in love with Benriach. They're such a wide spectrum of flavor profiles on their whiskeys, just absolutely gorgeous, and I love them. Also, by the way, I've realized when I was watching my videos that I say absolutely a lot, so I'm going to be very cognizant of the fact that I'm going to avoid saying the A word as much as I can. Anyway, going back to my Benriachs. So, found some interesting Benriachs. The 17 is a beautiful whiskey. The 15 sherry cask is amazing. But you know what I really ended up falling in love with was the 10-year-old lightly peated, the newer versions that are coming out from this Speyside distillery. So yes, the Benriach 10 is the first whiskey I want to talk to you about. So let me put it up on the screen and let me tell you a little bit about it. As I mentioned, this whiskey is non-chill filtered and natural color. It's of course 10 years old with an ABV of 43%. It's matured in a combination of bourbon, sherry, and virgin oak. So there's a nice sort of interesting formula over here. And it's available for a lovely price of £33, which I really appreciate. As far as the tasting notes are concerned, we're looking at ripe orchard fruits. Think pears and green apples. There's honey, toasted oak, a hint of citrus. It has a very creamy vanilla and a light spice. Think ginger and cinnamon. There's a malted barley sweetness to it as well. The finish is medium, I want to say, with a lingering oak and very subtle dry fruit. And why do I like it? Well, because it has all these classic Speyside flavors, but with just a hint of Benriach's heritage peat. And this is why I love this whiskey, and I think this is why I call it my everyday drinker, because it is incredibly approachable. It's very drinkable, extremely palatable, almost dangerously so. And I love dangerously palatable whiskeys, and this Benriach 10 is no exception. So a lovely dram, packed with classic Speyside flavors. They have an added nuance of the sort of traditional Benriach peat that comes with it. So it has a nice sort of ping pong between those flavor profiles. At 43%, again, you know, very easy to drink. And at £33, kind of like a no-brainer if you ask me. So this one is definitely one of the top of my list of budget whiskeys. I said budget again. I'm such an idiot. What were we gonna call it? Value whiskeys? Value whiskeys? I don't know. You know what I mean. £33. Can't go wrong. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I need my peat fix, even if it's on a daily basis, and there's nothing better than good Ardbeg DNA to satisfy that. And the Ardbeg Wee Beastie does just that. And what I really appreciate is the big fat number 5 that sits on top of the label. That's right, it's proudly 5 years old, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Yes, the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. And I remember it came out a few years ago, and it was only available in the European market, and I couldn't get my hands on it. And I remember hunting high and low and finally getting a hold of it and having it delivered, and then trying it. And I was thinking, whoa, this is so young and aggressive, but at the same time, it really worked. So let me put it up on the screen and let me tell you a little bit about it. As always, it's non-chill filtered, natural color, bottled at a beautiful 47.4% ABV. It's aged for exactly 5 years, maybe a bit more, in ex-bourbon and Oloroso sherry cask, so a fairly classic recipe, and available to you for a very decent £34.95. So quite a value-packed whiskey. This, in terms of its tasting notes, we have a very explosive peat smoke. There's black pepper, smoked meat, and touch of lemon. That classic Ardbeg citrus. It's quite earthy and aggressive. I like the barbecue ash, dark chocolate, and the herbal peat and licorice that works so well together. And finally, for the finish, it's long and spicy with a little bit of chili heat and drying smoke. And why do we like it? Well, it's unapologetically bold. It's young, but it's intense. And frankly, at under 35 pounds, it's, in my opinion, one of the best value peated whiskeys out there on the market, which boasts of real Ardbeg DNA, right? And look, there's nothing wrong with drinking a 5-year-old whiskey. People are now, thanks to Kilchoman, I'm going to say, right? Thanks to Kilchoman for their amazing transparency in calling out the ages of their whiskeys and saying, so what if it's young? It can still be, I was going to say absolutely amazing. It's still amazing. And so I think Ardbeg took a cue from that and decided to put the number 5 on their Wee Beastie, which is, as the name suggests, a little bit of a beast when it comes to its flavor profiles. And again, at that price point, getting a good solid Ardbeg DNA in your bottle at that price, oh, yes, definitely. Yes, go get it. You're gonna like it. Whiskey number 3 is the Benromach 10-year-old. That's right, Benromach 10-year-old. I'm a huge fan of the Benromach series, especially since their sort of revival in the last 15 years. And they've been doing just some absolutely tremendous work. And I really like the stuff that's coming out of Benriach. I was a huge fan back in the day as well. Their 100 proof, their 10-year-old 100 proof kind of changed my life, to be very honest with you. And this, entry level Benromach 10 is no exception. So let's put it up on the screen and I'll tell you a little bit about it. As always, non-chill filtered, natural color, bottled at a fairly decent 43%. It has 80% ex-bourbon and 20% sherry casks for its maturation. And that is for a total of 9 years. And then finally it gets a finish for about a year in first fill Oloroso sherry cask. So a very interesting maturation process here. It can be purchased for about £36.90. So again, very decent pricing on this. In terms of tasting notes, again, just like Benriach, I have this very soft peach smoke, green apple, toffee, and a gentle spice. There's a sherry malt, stewed fruits. That light peat comes across beautifully along with some cracked black pepper, and the finish is like a medium to long finish with oaky tannins and smoked nuts. And why do I like it? Well, it's old school Speyside style, it has a mix of sherry richness and Highland peat, and you can't go wrong with that. Super complex, beautifully balanced, and priced like it's still 2015. So again, can't go wrong with a whiskey that is coming in at that price, coming in with that level of complexity. It is wonderfully crafted using that, that bourbon and sherry, and then that finish in that first fill Oloroso sherry casks. And I wish they'd bump up the ABV on this, to be very honest. I think 43% is a bit low, but hey, at that price point, what more can you ask for? The fourth whiskey on my list, which is one of my all-time favorite, is of course the Ledaig 10. And if you follow this channel, you know that almost every other video I have the Ledaig 10 featuring really high on my list of anything. And in fact, it was my whiskey of the year as well. So I'm a huge fan of the Ledaig 10. I've always told this little anecdote when talking about the Ledaig 10. I was at a Ledaig 42 tasting many years ago, and we were invited to taste the beast that is Ledaig 42. Wonderful dram. However, before we got to the Ledaig 42, we were given a Ledaig 10, a Tobermory 10, Ledaig 15, and an 18, and a Tobermory 15. I think before we got to the Ledaig 10, and of course, everybody, and then the waiters came around and they said, hey, would you guys like refills? Not of the Ledaig 42, of course, but said, would you like the refills? And everybody went for the 15-year-old and the 18-year-old. I think I was the only one who went, you know what? I want a little more of the Ledaig 10. And the staff looked at me a little surprised, saying, there's a 15-year-old, 18-year-old on the menu that you can still have. And I said, I'll have the 10-year-old. And I think that's why I have it on the list. Yeah, so let's put it up on the screen and then let me tell you a little bit about it. Non-chill filtered, natural color, goes without saying. Bottled at a beautiful 46.3% ABV. Thank you, Burn Stewart. In terms of its maturation, it's essentially a bourbon cask matured whiskey and has a lovely price point of 37.95 pounds. So again, you know, very, very value packed if you ask me. In terms of its tasty notes, we're looking at earthy peat, burnt rubber, sea spray, and a medicinal undertone that comes with it. It's quite salty and smoky, very, very rich with that briny black pepper and charred oak, with a long and rugged finish, if you ask me, with its coastal smoke, spice, and malt. And why do we like it? Well, I kind of think it's an Islay whiskey disguised and hiding on the Isle of Mull. It has an incredible depth and a maritime intensity for the price. And again, you know, bottled with integrity. There's transparency around this bottle. It's got all the makings of, you know, transparent whiskey making, which I really, really appreciate. And it just tastes gorgeous. It just tastes amazing, right? And I think off this list, this is probably be my number one pick. The Ledaig 10, I can drink every day. Last but definitely not the least, the Deanston 12 rounds off our daily sippers or our value drams or our budget whiskies or whatever you want to call it. Deanston has been, again, doing some absolutely amazing work of late. Their virgin oak is just amazing. I love the flavor profiles on that. I fell in love with the Deanston 18. We had it at a blind tasting for my whiskey club along with a ton of other really, really high value 18-year-old whiskeys, and the Deanston 18 was just head and shoulders above everything. In fact, even in some of the blind tastings, it's come out as number one. And the Deanston 12 sort of carries that legacy that Deanston is now creating for affordable, super flavorful, amazing whiskeys. So let's put it up on the screen. Let me tell you something about it. Once again, natural color, non-chill filtered, bottled at 46.3% ABV. Once again, thank you, Mr. Burn Stewart. It's fully matured in first fill bourbon barrels and comes in at a nice 40 pounds, 75p. So our only whiskey just above 40 pounds. But, you know, it would have been a crime not to include it. In terms of the tasting notes, we have honeycomb, lemon curd, and fresh baked bread, along with some creamy malt, vanilla fudge. There's an oak spice and a touch of citrus to it as well. The finish is nice and clean and bright with barley sweetness and dry oak. And why do we like it? We like it because it's an underappreciated gem. There's an all-natural presentation to it. It's soft, but it's flavorful. I think it's the perfect intro to bourbon cask whiskey that doesn't compromise on quality. And, you know, like the Deanston 18, which is also bourbon cask matured, and I think finished off in virgin oak, if I'm not mistaken. The Deanston 12 is probably what is quintessentially a bourbon maturation inspired flavor profile, and if that is your jam, you will absolutely adore. And I said absolutely again, what a fucking shit. You will definitely love the Deanston 12. And again, like I said, I should also stop saying again. And like I said, maybe I should stop saying like I said. And to reiterate, you can't get any better value than the whiskeys that I've spoken about so far. And, you know, at just about 40 pounds, the Deanston 12 is probably a no-brainer if you ask me. You know, just wonderful flavors, meticulously constructed, very, very high quality cost selection. Just everything about it screams top-notch whiskey making, and, you know, can't go wrong with it. Maybe I should stop saying that as well. If I stop saying everything, what am I going to say? But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Yes, the Deanston 12 at 40 pounds 75. Must have. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My top 5. Are they my top 5? Well, they're definitely one of my 5. I might do another one in a few months' time, which is another 5 of my daily drinkers, daily sippers, whatever you want to call it, budget malts. But yes, these are my 5 that I'm kind of into these days. I always have a bottle available on my shelf of these whiskeys because, you know, you can just go get them. You can go get one every week. You know, what's 30 pounds? You know, what's 35 pounds on a weekly basis for a whiskey? That is so good. And that's all you have to do. That's all you have to spend. So I always have these 5 whiskeys on my shelf because they're just so easy to restock. They're widely available. The flavor profile is just out of this world, and everything about them just screams wonderful whiskey making at an affordable price point. So cannot go wrong with my suggestions. Yes. And if you haven't tried any of these for whatever reason, maybe they flew under the radar, you haven't heard of them, I don't know, maybe you heard something bad about them. If you heard anything bad about them, please ignore that, because you know you're looking at an authority on whiskeys. No, I'm just kidding. Do what you want, but if you're genuinely curious, go find out these whiskeys, and even if you don't like them, well, you just spent 30 pounds. It's not that big a deal. Give it to a friend that you don't like. I'm sure he will like them. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you could find something of value in this video. If you haven't tried any of these whiskeys, I strongly suggest you go out and buy them and try them out, and I hope you really like them. And yeah, you know, maybe let me know in the comments. What are your top 3, top 5 daily drinkers that you always go to, and maybe I'll do a video on them next. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. All right, I've been talking enough. I'm the Malt Activist. Until next time, peace.